Welcome back to Enshrouded, everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to build a small bridge, just like the ones you may have seen in my forest village here. And I actually built these a while back on a live stream, but I think they turned out super nice, and many of you liked them as well. I really like how the little hand railings turned out, and the way that they arch over the little creek here. And in this case, I just built the creek out of the ice terrain material, little waterfall there and a creek going under them. But I hope they'll add water at some point. It is on their roadmap, but you could build these over a little river like I did, or a little path that goes under them. But I'm super happy with how they turned out, so without further ado, let's get building. Alright, so I've dug a little ditch as an example for this tutorial, and I'm going to connect this path over the ditch using the bridge. And to build it, what you'll need are some crude wooden platters, or any platters of your choice, graveyard fences, some ornamented window frames, or any other window frames. I just like the look of these ones. Some shield wall mounts, and rustic tables, firefly lamps, the conifer wood block, or any other wood block if you haven't made it to the mountain biome yet, some tarred shingle roof blocks, and some rough stone blocks, or any other random block of your choice. These will be hidden by the terrain and deleted. They're just going to be used to build the skeleton of the bridge. And to start that, I'm going to take my little ceiling blueprint with the rough stone block, or whatever random block you have, and I'm going to sit it one block below the level of the terrain. So you can see that's flush with the terrain, and I'm going to sit it one block below, and this will be easier with snapping turned off. And then I can place it right there. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to take my little wall blocks, and I'm going to place them on either side of it, just like that. And you'll basically stack these as tall as you have to, depending on how deep your river is, in order so that the top of them sit one block right below the top of this blueprint right here. And then you can delete everything below just that top little square here. All we want is just a little square of 4 blocks that sits one block below the top of that blueprint. So something just like this right here. And then we can even delete these 2 blocks because we just want it to be these outer 2. And now that we have that, I'm going to take my wooden platters, and this will all make sense in a bit. We're just sort of outlining the bridge right now. And now with snapping turned on, I'm going to snap them to the top of these 2 blocks right here. And now we can actually build the bridge itself. This is the completed skeleton, and you can use the same principles that I'm showing you in this video to make this bridge however long or arched you want by just continuing the little step downs like I'm going to show you. But for the sake of this one, I'm just going to do a little tiny bridge because I like the size of this bridge here. Now with the rustic tables, what we're going to do is I like to rotate them so the little wavy edge is sort of facing outward. And we're going to snap them to the edge of this top blueprint. So the very outer row on the top blueprint with the little wavy edges facing outward. And then I'm going to take 2 more of them, rustic tables, and you can see that if we kind of aim to the tops of these other 2 blocks, that one's a little bit buried in there. So you might have to sort of destroy some of the terrain that's hiding them. And just be sure that when you're building your river and stuff, it's totally okay. We can always put this stuff back after the fact. So I'm just sort of making myself plenty of space in here to work, even if our final river dimensions are a bit narrower than what I have right here. So now that we have some space, I can take the rustic table again, and you can see with snapping on, I can snap it down on those blocks, but it ends up being flush with the terrain. And the reason for those plates is that if I turn snapping off, you can see it actually sits up from the terrain a little bit. So I'm going to aim at those blocks there, and then turn snapping off so that it sits just above the terrain, just like that, which I really like. So you can see that full slab and it doesn't get buried there. And then same thing on the other side, going to rotate it around 180 degrees, turn snapping on just to get our reference point. You can see how those rocks are kind of phasing over the slab. So I'm going to aim at that, turn snapping off to sit it just above, just so you can see it a little better. And that is looking pretty good. You could choose to leave the bridge just at this with no railings or anything, and it already looks quite nice. But now we're going to add the railings and some more detail. So I can already destroy this blueprint, and then you could destroy these little blocks on the edges too, but I'm just going to sort of keep them there because they'll be hidden by the terrain anyway later on. So now for the very top of the bridge, you could choose to skip this step, but I like to take the conifer wood block and just kind of continue a little row that's 2 blocks wide over the top here. And you just kind of aim at the block behind it and it will snap into place, just because it further accentuates the arched look of the bridge. And I just think that looks really nice. Now we can work on the hand railings. And for those, I'm going to take my tarred shingle roof block, and I'm going to build sort of a row that comes all the way out to the edge of the outer slabs here. And it's going to be even with this middle conifer wood block section that sticks up. So it comes all the way out to the edge, and then same thing on this side. Just building a row that comes all the way out. This is kind of the starting point for what we're going to do. So just like that. That looks pretty good. And now we're going to make the little points. So I'm going to put a block here and a block here. And you'll see they actually make this really cool texture in the middle that adds that little wooden ornamental look there, which looks really cool on the side of the hand railings. So I'll do the same thing over here. That'll make that little texture. And same thing on this side. Right there. Oops. That was a little too far to the outside, right like that. All right, so we basically want one block that's sort of exposed on the outside, or you can see if we put it all the way to the outside, it'll basically create a bad texture, and we don't want that. So that's how you'll know if you're placing them right, is if they create these little like ornamented wooden caps on them. And then that, now that that's done, I'm going to come underneath the bridge and sort of continue the sides in. Basically from that outer block, I think by 3 blocks each, so that we're left with a little 4-block wide gap in the middle. And that's where I can take my ornamented window frame and sort of rotate it sideways and kind of sit it right in there with the snapping turned on, and that creates our little handrail. And I can do the same thing to this side as well. I just like to fill in these little side sections here. And that'll kind of add like a support that phases in the terrain there, which I think looks really nice. And then add our little handrail to the side of it. And that, again, you could leave your bridge at this stage. But if your bridge is wider, which mine is, it's a little wider than some right now. Some of my bridges, I skip this step, and some I add this step. But now we could add some little pillars and supports to sort of tie it in to the terrain. You could use the rough stone block, but I also forgot to mention I like to use the rough flintstone block for this. What we're going to do first is with snapping on with our shield wall mounts, I'm going to snap them sort of right, not here, but one more out. And I guess you could put your pillars really wherever you want, but I like the look of them about right here. And these will just kind of tie everything in nicely. You don't have to place these, but I just think they look kind of cool where they sort of taper down into the support pillars. And then with our rough flintstone block, you're going to build up a little column below them that basically makes it so when you place the gravestone fence, and let's see here, I'm debating if I place it sideways or this way. I think this way right here. When you place the gravestone fence, it kind of glitches the little point of the gravestone up into the bridge there, so it looks more like a column right there. So you could continue these little flintstone pillars as deep as you want to reach the top of your riverbed. And I'll do something similar to the other side here. And my little river here is pretty shallow, so I don't need it to be continued super deep, but something just like that. Or if your river is really deep, you could build those flintstones from the top down, because it might be hard to sort of aim at the floor directly below where you need them to be. So something along those lines right there. And then if you wanted to add in some water after the fact, you could do that. So maybe I'll add some ice in here, something like that. You could put it at this level. You could have it really at whatever level you want. And there's my water, or again, have a little pathway go underneath it. But I just love the look of that a lot. And then you can even add some details to the outer points of it And I like to use little firefly lamps, for example. It makes it look really nice at nighttime. Where I'm going to destroy the outer corners here. You can see by destroying these that makes sort of that fat texture there, which we don't want. But by doing that, I can now place these little firefly lamps on all the sides. So like that, and then I'm going to hit my undo button 4 times, and that's going to bring the wood block back above them. So it just adds another little detail on the edges, just like so. Yeah, I just love the way this turned out. It's so nice. It also matches a lot of the little rounded curved pathways and other things that you can do with these tables. They're such a cool build piece, and I really like figuring out ways to use other build pieces in a way that they weren't really intended to create something that's really cool. So yeah, I think just everything fits together super nice here, with the combination of the little textures that the roof blocks create and the windows used for the hand railings and everything. So I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial and it was helpful. I know some of you saw it on the live stream, but it was nice to do a more concise tutorial on exactly how it's done, a little easier to follow. So be sure to subscribe, join the Discord server through the link in the description, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.